Let's see if we can get some 5x5 and we'll get started into the evening here. So let's see. Come on, computer screen. I'm gonna have to sing. Up, Jacob says 5x5, and I see me. I'm gonna have to sing. Up, Jacob says. There we go. Okay, mute everything. Good evening, gang. Crazy Saturday. I want to start by saying this because I've seen lots of comments today, obviously lots of videos, lots of emails today. I've actually did get stuff done, believe it or not, today. It's been raining here all day, but I was working on making fertilizer, tearing up cardboard for compost, cleaning out my prep room, putting away stuff that we bought recently. So actually did get some progress made today. I want to say this to everybody real quick because the overall tone that I've seen in some of comments and emails and all is worry. And I want to say this to everybody to really think about. This is what you've been prepping for the last year, 2, 5, 10, 20, 40 years for. We never wanted anything crazy to happen, but we prepped for it. And so now all the crap that's going on in the world and the craziness that is probably in our future, you are more ready for than 95% of the world's population, if not more. Think about this. You've got food, you've got security, you've got heat, electricity, whatever would be. I mean, all the preps, medical, you name it, lights. Imagine being the 95% of the public out there who, if the world blows up, looks in their pantry and there's nothing. The lights go out, they don't even have candles. The car is empty, they can't go anywhere. That's what you've been doing. And sure, none of us ever wanted to see craziness happen, in SHTF world. But the fact that we're more ready for it than everybody else, pat yourself on the back and say, this is why I didn't take that vacation. This is why I didn't buy that car. This is why whatever. And look at all the stuff that you have and all the things that you've learned how to do and all the plans that you have going forward to make it out the other side. And imagine you had none of them. I know this sounds really weird, but congratulations for getting this far. So I just wanted to say that to everybody because you need to stop back and think every once in a while and go, holy crap, I am in good shape compared to most. So I wanted to start there. With what's going on in the world, that's why I asked North if he was going to go on tonight. I may wind up running a little long for you guys tonight because a lot of stuff that I want to let you know about what's going on kind of explain some stuff, but we'll see how the questions go and everything like that as we get into it. But inevitably, there's going to be questions on today's videos and stuff. But I want to start out with what came out around 5 o'clock Eastern this afternoon and the US and the EU cutting Russia off of SWIFT. Now, first off, let me explain what it is and then kind of put the pieces together because the news isn't telling you everything. SWIFT is the communication between inter-country banks for international exchange of funds, okay? Whether it is you paying for hotel reservations in Bali, or the Germans paying for Russian oil, or the United States paying for the next shipment coming from China, whatever would be, okay? That's all done through SWIFT. It's a Belgian-owned bank program that countries around the world participate in. it is not the only way that international money transfers can happen by countries. Okay. It's all based in US dollars, hence us being the reserve currency. But the other ways of doing it are a lot more labor intensive, a lot more expensive, but still can be done. So just because the EU and the US shut Russia off from SWIFT, this is one reason why they are not completely cut off from the rest of the world. There are still other ways that things can get done. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part I want to bring up on that, and a lot of people have mentioned it in the comments, is not all the banks in Russia were sanctioned against. This is true. Okay. Reason being, and I will give you this, and I have no idea how many banks there are in Russia. Okay. Couldn't even guess. But I went and looked up the SWIFT codes in the United States. And if you guys want, just so you see what I'm talking about, I'll drop the link real quick here. All right. Let's get back to where we are. You don't have to go look at this, but just so you know what this is what I'm talking about. There are 75 pages worth of banks in the United States that are on SWIFT. Not all of them are. Okay, I've got 2 bank accounts. One's with Capital One. You guys know that. Okay, we all know Capital One. See the commercials, everything. The other one is with Commercial Bank, which is a local bank, not a credit union. Commercial Bank is not part of SWIFT. Okay, so not all banks in the United States are part of SWIFT, just like not all banks in Russia are part of SWIFT. The sanctions that were put on are going to hit the major banks in Russia, which is where most everything is going to happen, which covers about 80% of their international trade, which means still 20% of their international trade somehow can get through their system. Now, the other thing that they hit was the Russian central bank. Okay, this is obviously the government. By doing that, that's going to really mess up government finances, and early speculation was this will probably cause about a 5% hit to the Russian GDP. So yes, they are going to experience some massive problems financially in Russia. You can imagine inflation is going to go through the roof over there. I looked a couple hours ago, and the ruble was trading at about 83 rubles to the dollar. So each ruble's worth just a little bit more than a penny right now. All right, but this is already at some all-time highs, and it's going to go much worse. You know, very feasibly, this could look like the Russian economy did in the early 1990s when the Soviet Union fell. Okay, you know, go back to the Weimar Republic or something. Same idea. Now, the other catch to this, and this is something that's important to pay attention to, and I've mentioned it in a couple of videos before. Russia and China have their own international trade that they do without dollars. India is also trying to establish trade with Russia outside of SWIFT. So now you have the 2 most populous countries in the world. India, which is an ally of the United States too, guys, trying to do backdoor business with Russia. China has already said they do not consider what Russia is doing an invasion. Okay? China has already said they are not going to impose any sanctions on Russia. Okay? So that means Russia is just going to get that much closer to China. India is a wild card right now. I can't even begin to figure this one out. Okay, we'll see what happens with that. Are we establishing a new, to quote Ronald Reagan, axis of evil? Okay, now you have Russia, China, North Korea. Not that North Korea is any economic player at all, but you put Russia and China together, and you have economics that both countries can pretty much survive off of. Russia only uses internally about 20% of their wheat. 80% is shipped to other countries. China is in dire need of resources for fuel It's what Russia's got an abundance of. And then of course China's making all sorts of products, whatever would be, and Russia can use them. This is not the end all be all. So pay attention in regards to that too. This is going to come into play big time with how China responds now. And China can see this as an opening to go, hey, we're going into Taiwan, next stop Japan. Or does China come up and say, okay, we're getting with the rest of the world and we're going to put Russia out on an island? Okay, so that's that. Now, this one is kind of along the lines of what I talked about in this afternoon's video, or this lunchtime video, whichever one of them, the one on the banks. Putin has already said that if we mess with the Russian financial system, that's a declaration of war. I mentioned what the comments were from the one bank executive who said the FDIC said cyber attacks on the banks are imminent. After what happened this evening, yeah, you can pretty much bet something is going to hit our banking system here pretty soon. Now, if you don't, the hacker group Anonymous has been going after Russia like crazy. All right. If you looked at like RT's been down most of the time for the last couple of days. Anonymous has been after them. Russia's been hacking into the Ukrainian government system, the Ukrainian bank system, left and right. And if you don't think they have the capability to hack into the United States, you're sadly mistaken. I know everybody says, oh, the banks have backups and everything like that. Sure. And, those aren't kept on slips of paper in a, file cabinet somewhere. It's all digital. And, it's all accessible somehow, because as long as it's hooked to any sort of network, the hackers can get into it. Not easy, but we're not talking about amateur hackers either. So what we were talking about today about having some money, printing out your bank statement daily or making a PDF of it, doubly important. It's close to inevitable that we're going to see some sort of hack on some sort of bank for certain infrastructure. Who knows? I mean, water, electric, another colonial, whatever it's going to be. So have your ducks in a row, guys. Have some cash. Don't count on just your debit card or your credit card working. I mean, it's no big deal for them to get shut down all of a sudden. It doesn't even have to be a hack to shut it down. It could be the banks to shut it down too, going, there's too much activity going on right now. We're shutting down the system, to make sure they're safe. So just be prepared for something like that. That's the biggest thing I want to get across to everybody there. But SWIFT is a huge, huge deal. It's only ever been done one time before, and it's still going on. If you guys didn't know, 2012, we imposed SWIFT sanctions on Iran. They're still in play. And that cut Iran's GDP about 30% right off the get-go. And you guys all know the financial strain that Iran is in. Okay, they can't do anything. So same thing's going on here. The problem is, at this point, Putin has destroyed his reputation for the rest of his life. And he's probably destroyed Russia's reputation for at least a generation or two. Because even if he pulled all troops out today and said, oops, okay, we're all going back, no harm, no foul, nobody's ever going to trust him again. And the rest of the world's going to have a real bad taste in their mouth about Russia because nobody's going to trust the country again. That's the situation we're in. I mean, we have, for all intents and purposes, guys, entered Cold War II at this point. So, when Putin is threatening the use of his nuclear arsenal, he's threatened Finland and Sweden. We don't even have to talk about Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. They are NATO countries and they are on the Russian border. So, for everybody who's saying, oh, he doesn't want NATO countries on the Russian border, he's already got them. He's had them for a while. So, Putin's lost his mind. That's the only thing Mrs. P and I can figure out, is that he's just completely gone nuts. He is totally empirical. He wants to create the Russian Empire again. And he wants his name in the history books forever. Hitler's name's in the history books forever too. So it ain't always a good thing that you are forever remembered. All right, so that is that. We will get into our normal deals. Moderators, I'm going to ask to have a little bit of lax attitude tonight, not against the YouTube stuff, okay? We still can't talk about the 2020 election, climate change, the contents of the jab, or anything like that. But there's no worries about if we talk about Biden, Putin, Zelensky, whatever would be, and put 4-letter words after their name. I'm not worried about that, okay? I understand where you get Constantine's video and stuff where, he can't talk about it, he can get arrested. That ain't happening here in the States, and I don't want to shut people down too much, though we don't want any of the FJB stuff, okay? Just so you guys know what it is. Same thing, but please make sure you take care of the trolls, because the trolls were out in force here in the last couple of days on my videos. So I can't tell you how many comments I have deleted and people I've kicked off the channel in the last 48 hours. As for everybody else, if you're new here, we do Q&A. Pose questions to me. No subject is off limits except what I just mentioned that YouTube doesn't let us talk about. Anything else you want to talk about, that's fine. I mean, we talk politics, we talk gardening, we talk guns, we talk rock and roll, we talk movies, who knows, whatever you guys want to talk about. Doesn't matter to me. The only thing I ask is if you have a question for me, like pretty much every other YouTube channel, please put it in all caps so I can find it. There's 1,700 people in here and one of me. God knows I can't read every one of these, so I'm scanning the comments real quick. Please, please, please keep it PG-13, okay? I understand that some of the topics we talk about will raise people's blood pressure. Please understand, these are my opinions. I am entitled to my opinions. Nobody needs to call me an asshole or something like that because of my opinion. You're entitled to yours too. If you don't want to hear my opinion, that little X in the upper right-hand corner of your computer works really well, okay? If you want to be here, all I ask is that you treat everybody in here with respect. Your opinion is completely allowed. Your being rude to others is not. So that's kind of how we play the rules around here. So with that being said, let me get to the top, and I will go through questions as fast as I can. Like I said, I got a little long today, so if we go long, I apologize. North Shore said if he's up for it, is going to go live afterwards, so we'll see how he feels at the end, and we'll keep going. So that being said, let's get to where the first one. Mary Bishop, what is the best security system to use for your home? There are way too many variables in that one, okay? I mean, do you live in an apartment? Do you live in the suburbs? Do you live on 40 acres out in the woods? Every one of them is going to be different. Do you have security cameras? If you have an apartment, you probably can't even put them in. If you have something out in the suburbs, yeah, you probably want security cameras on, say, your front door, your back door, maybe your driveway. If you have 40 acres out in the country, you probably got a dozen security cameras all over the place, barn, garage, sheds, whatever it would be. You certainly want to have cameras, if possible, for where you can keep track of what's going on. Because in an SHTF event, guys, guard duty, one of the people on guard duty is going to be watching the cameras, okay? You want to have motion-activated lights out there somewhere. Again, that's all going to be subject to your property, how you can do it. Then you can get much more creative with this. I mean, I've done videos on how to make homemade alarms. I've talked to you guys about caltrops. I've talked to you guys about punji sticks, things like that. So, I mean, depending on the situation you get into, is going to depend. There is no one size fits all for the best security system. It all depends on what's going to fit your needs. Uh, See, Star says, be prepared, not scared. Exactly. The reason we prepare is so we aren't scared. The ones who are going to be scared are the ones who didn't. They're going to go, holy shit, what do I do? Okay. Where's the government to save me? Dumbass, the government's your enemy. So, that's not going to be a whole helpful there. Linda S., my concern with India and China is medical. Yeah, 90% of our medicine comes from India and China. So that's the thing. If you have the ability to stock up any way for, the medicine, talk to your doctor. Maybe the doctor will write you a 6-month script instead of a 3-month. Somehow. I mean, if worse comes to worse, you can go to some of these Canadian pharmacies, which are actually Indian, and order some stuff and pay cash for it. So, I mean, there's different ways of doing it depending on what you need. Holistic medicine doesn't work for everybody. So, you're diabetic, okay, you're going to need your insulin. Maybe there's something that's going to help, but it's not going to be everything that you need, or whatever would be. 65 Whaler, thank you for the super chat. I want to sincerely compliment you for being willing to admit you misjudged Putin. Humility and strong character is rare these days. God bless. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I can say about that. Putin's a smart man. There's no doubt. I mean, what he did here is what Putin did with this whole invasion makes Joe Biden look like a Rhodes Scholar. Okay. This has got to be the stupidest thing I've ever seen done. And it makes zero sense, but he did it. So you can't, like I said earlier, you can't figure out a madman. Eileen Hoop, what are my thoughts on BRIC? They're, any sort of alliance can go any sort of way. I mean, I think what's going on in Russia right now is going to destroy BRIC, but we'll see, because you are thumbing your nose at the rest of the world if you stay on Russia's side here. So that means you either sink or swim with them, and I don't think there's a whole lot of countries. China could try to go it on their own, but India's toast, Brazil is toast. Trying to go on their own. So, they're best to back away from it. Kathy Little, what solar generator panels do you like? Well, the ones I have are the 12C Van 120s. And the reason I got those, and again, all my generators are the EcoFlow 1300s, and they will handle up to 400 watts of power from the panels. So I can run 3 120s and I've got 360 watts. Okay, fine. I like the 12C Vans because they're portables. Okay, that's the only thing I want is portable, because if I got to hop somewhere, having solar panels on the roof doesn't do me any good if I can't take them with me. I can throw these in the truck and I can boogie with them. The EcoFlow ones, I don't like those because they're a little too flimsy. They don't stand up straight. I picked those for quality, for build, and for accessibility. I mean, the 12C Van panels will work with any generator you got. It's got every one of the single adapters for it. So that's the one I picked. Is it the right call for everybody? No. Is it the one that works best for my situation? Yes, but those are the best portable ones I could find. Didn't want to miss Jennifer Small. Thank you for the super chat. Haven't finished prepping, but much thanks for the words of encouragement. Nobody's ever finished prepping. Prepping is not a destination. Prepping is a journey. I mean, when you think you've got enough, go get another can of beans. Okay, nobody's ever finished prepping. You keep getting stuff. You keep learning skills. You keep getting better and better and better. When somebody comes up and says, yep, I can do open heart surgery in the field, and I can also, forge a new shovel out on the out in the blacksmith and do it in the same day, maybe then you're close. Until then, probably not. So yes, but you're most welcome for the words of encouragement. Hexer1, thank you as well for the super chat. Do appreciate that. And Donna Galliani, there we go. You're most welcome. I appreciate you saying thank you. Okay. Going on down here. I'm going to try, how's this? J. Lane of Abel, maybe. Okay. J. Lane Vabel, I'm not sure, but there we go. We cannot fight Russia and China at the same time. Oh, sure, we could. We'd get our ass handed to ourselves. I mean, remember, our military right now is about as weak as it's been since World War One. Okay, because Joe just broomed a whole bunch of people. Not, the whole wokeness crap, the vaccine mandates, everything. Do we still have state-of-the-art equipment? Yes. Did we get rid of a whole bunch of state-of-the-art troops? Yup. Okay. Doesn't do you great if you do you any good if you've got the world's best equipment and nobody who knows how to use it. And then again, go back to World War II. I mean, this is the only comparison you have. We're fighting a two-front war there between Germany and Japan. Okay. And remember the casualties we were taking and the cost and everything that happened there. Well, okay, this was before the age of nuclear missiles. This was before the age of jet fighters. This was before the age of gunships. There's a whole lot different here. We don't have the manpower or the capacity to fight a two-front war against pretty much the two superpowers in the world that either have more military equipment or more personnel than we do. Okay, it would take a whole lot of help from NATO, and as much as everybody loves to say, well, they're part of NATO and stuff like that, who pays for them? Okay, we still pay for Europe's defense. Why? Because they can't do it on their own. How much help do you really think they're going to be? Elizabeth, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that as well. Let's see. Brenda H., can you remind us the website to buy gold and silver again? It's comparesilverprices.com and comparegoldprices.com. And you can probably expect, with everything that just happened in the banks, you're going to see the price of precious metals probably go up quite a bit on Monday, and you will probably see the market tank on Monday. Who knows? I say probably because logic has left the building, along with Elvis. Jennifer Jones, nobody trusts anybody. We are weak. There's a lot of truth to that. If you look at this century, the 21st century, during George Bush's term, Russia went after Crimea. During Obama's term, Georgia, Crimea, and now we've got Ukraine. The only time Putin sat on his hands was during Trump, because the other three were establishment, New World Order pansies. That'll be a polite word there. Trump wasn't. Trump, I mean, there's reports that came out, and Trump specifically told Putin, you go into Ukraine, I blow up Moscow. And Putin didn't do anything. Okay. That's the thing. We are weak. We broadcast how weak we are. I mean, Joe Biden is a laughing stock in the world. The only ones that don't believe that are his inner circle. Even the Democrats in Congress think he's a laughing stock. But it's what we got, and unfortunately, however he got into the White House, I can't talk about that. It's what we got, and we got to deal with it. So We do what we got to do. Read between the lines. John Fort Wangler. Delilah says give pinball a pause up. Way to go, Delilah. Okay, we just talked about Brick. Nikki B, what channel you mentioned Constantine? How do I find that channel? His channel is called Inside Russia, but in the search, you've got to put in letters to King. So, Lorna, would you pop up a link for Constantine there so Nikki can find that? Cowboy Bob, pinball, Putin isn't nuts. He's in on the Great Reset. Think it over and you'll see it. See, I completely disagree. And that was one thing I mentioned in this afternoon's video. If there's a Great Reset that Putin wants, it's exactly the opposite of what Klaus Schwab wants. Klaus Schwab, Joe Biden, Emmanuel Macron, Boris Johnson, all these guys, you know, yes, they're all Great Reset, World Economic Forum people. The Great Reset that Putin wants is the same one that Xi Jinping wants. That's completely different, okay? We have a choice. This is my video this afternoon. We either go for the liberal New World Order that Schwab and his idiots want, or we go for the communist New World Order, which is what Putin and Xi want, okay? Nowhere in there is any of the conservative, you know, go back to the old ways, you know, the nuclear family when there are two genders, you know, that's the NWO that most people want, at least most people in the States. Todd Saunders, if banks bail in, what happens to my loans? Okay, first off, and I've gone over this a million times with bank bail-ins. Guys, the information on YouTube is so bad about bail-ins, it's unbelievable. The only money that can be touched for a bank and a bail-in is anything that's over $250,000 in a bank by a person. If you've got more than $250,000 in one bank, you're a fool, okay? Simple as that. Nothing less than that can be touched for any sort of bank bail-in. So, what happens to your loans? You still own your loans. The first thing the bank's going to do if the bank goes under is the bank is going to sell off its debt to another bank, and you're just going to have a new servicer. You're not getting out of paying your debts. Sorry. Tom Collick, do I think Russia will stop at the Ukraine border or not? They kind of already crossed it. So, yeah. Missy Stevens, have I heard anything about the Freedom Ride? If you're talking about the truckers convoy, the last I heard, they went through Albuquerque today, and that was it. I mean, it's not getting any coverage whatsoever by YouTubers or anything like that for the most part. There's some, don't get me wrong, but Ukraine is the bigger deal here, so that's kind of where it is. I didn't have any time at all today to even see what was going on with the trucker convoy. Oh, hey, Texas, it's a shiner night. I needed that. Okay. Tone, what are my thoughts on the World Economic Forum? Well, they are basically sitting at the gates to hell. If every one of the members was taken out, tied to a post and shot, I'd buy the drinks. Does that give you enough? Javon Cochran, is rainwater off the roof okay for a garden? Depends on your roofing materials. If you've got a metal roof, yeah, no problem. If you've got a shingle roof, asphalt shingles, probably not so much unless you filter it all out, you know, run it through a strainer or something like that, or a coffee filter, because you don't want all those little bits and pieces of asphalt in your garden. But metal roof or something like that, no problem. TNT, what's a good amount of rounds of freedom seeds should we get? Whatever you can afford. Nobody has ever in history said, damn, I wish I had less ammunition. Okay. Jim Bagby, pinball for king. Hell freaking no. Okay. I'd be happy to be king of my own house, and that doesn't happen. I don't certainly want to be anything bigger than that. Conserve friends. Pinball, will bank ATM receipts do? I can't screenshot accounts currently. Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, if you can't do a screenshot, you don't have a printer, whatever it would be. I mean, your only place to do it is on a phone, however would be. An ATM balance inquiry is something. What you're looking at is just something so you have something current. It's just insurance, guys. If all of a sudden the banks disappear and FDIC says, "What'd you have in your bank account?" I had $1,842, and the bank says, "Prove it." You got to have something. They're not going to take your checkbook register and go, "See, this is where I balanced it." No, show me something from the bank. Here's a balance inquiry from 2 days earlier, or here's my printout from yesterday. If you go in there and say, "Here's my January statement," they're going, "Wonderful. It's the 26th of February. Did you spend any money this month? Where are all the receipts?" So that's the reason for saying it. It's just to CYA, guys. Jason Maines, how much gas do you recommend having on hand? It depends on a lot of it depends on you, okay? What can you rotate? The thing is, you're going to be rotating your gasoline, and this is the way I tell everybody to store it. For me, I've got 25 gallons of gas out in 5-gallon gas cans. Every 6 months, I rotate that. The gas cans get empty. It gets poured into my truck. I go refill the gas cans with fresh gas. That gets me nearly a full tank of gas in my truck. That's fine, okay? Because that's pretty much the only thing that I'm going to use gasoline for. A little bit for the chainsaw and, stuff like that, a little bit for the lawnmower, but okay, you're there. But what are you going to do with it? For most people, the only reason you need to have gasoline is because it's in your car. Well, if I can get 600 miles out of a tank of gas in my truck, and I've got enough to get almost another 600 miles, so let's say 400, just to make the math easy, I can get 1,000 miles from here. If I've got to go more than 1,000 miles to get, there is no getting away at that point. Okay. So, just think about what's reasonable to have. Now, if everything in your house runs on gasoline, which I doubt, okay, sure, you're going to have more, but, you've got to figure that one out on your consumption of whatever it is. Could I have tons and tons and tons and tons of propane? Sure, if I wanted to, but it wouldn't do me any good because the only thing in my house that runs on propane is my stove, okay, and my backup heater. That's it. So, I'm not overly concerned about, gee, I've got to have a ton of propane. We bought the house 3 years ago. It had 80% propane tank, basically full. It's still got 65% in the propane tank. In 3 years, we've used 15% of what was in there. Okay, I think I'm okay. It all depends on what you need. How much you use it. When you figure that one out, that'll tell you how much you need to store. Okay. JK Co. Anyone heard of gas prices increasing by $2 a gallon on Monday? I've heard that. Got a couple emails. I saw a couple of comments. Somebody on Rudy's Alaska Preppers channel, they talked about it. That some convenience store manager was told to expect $4.75 to $5 gas next week when they get their delivery. We'll see. Too many times we've seen the stories like that, and they're all hype. I would suggest everybody fill up your tank this weekend just in case. But, the last thing you want to do is, gas here is what, $3.29 right now. Last thing I want to do is not have full tanks at $3.29 and 36 hours from now go, oh, gee, it's $4.79. Cool. I just lost $1.50 a gallon. You don't want to be kicking yourself in the butt. If it doesn't go up, fine, you got a full tank of gas. Okay. It ain't going down on Monday. Let's put it that way. Where in New Hampshire did I live? I lived in Newmarket and in Stratham. So they're on the seacoast. Worked in Portsmouth. Mac Myers, that's fine. You can disagree with me. That's completely allowed around here. Aquaseek and Pinball, what is this laser weapon China is heard of having? Is this the one they were shooting from the ship or whatever that I saw the other day? Was it an LDAP or something like that? I know next to nothing about it. I saw something real briefly on it, but I don't have any knowledge whatsoever on it. Brian Keith Prepper, if Trump was president now, this all wouldn't be happening. I think that's pretty much the consensus of the world. But unfortunately, we've got, the diaper Dan here. John Fort Wingler. Okay, that's a comment between you guys. Read it here. Schulte Family Homestead, thank you for the super chat. If an EMP were to be used in the United States, how would that affect the nuclear power plants? I have 3 within about 65 miles of Lake Michigan. Good question. I don't know. I've got to think that somehow there's backups for the cooling towers and everything in the nuclear system, just in case something like that happens. I've got to think those are hardened assets. But that great question. I don't have an answer to that one. I mean, and if the power goes out and they aren't hardened and we got nuclear meltdowns all around the country, it's like, hey, you think Chernobyl was bad, now let's take 60 of them. Who knows, guys? It's like there's going to be a day when we don't wake up in the morning. That's sad but true. Purring lady, the liberal left won't even use harsh words to describe Putin or Xi. Oh, of course not, because they are so far up the behind of both of them. It's unbelievable, And again, remember, Hunter Biden got money from China. Hunter Biden got money from Ukraine. Remember, Joe wanted the Ukrainian prosecutor fired, everything like that. There's a lot more to this that we don't know. There always is, okay? And it won't come out for 30 years or something like that, and we'll find out something silly like this was all a exercise done to make that, somebody paid Putin to go do all this so they could burn up all the files they had on Hunter. I mean, all the crazy stuff. Give it time. There'll be plenty of conspiracy theories out there. I mean, we're already seeing the ones on the biolabs and all this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, of course, I mean, the media, I mean, come on, dear leader is, they're the way they start every morning. They look in the mirror and bow down. Montana Grizz fan, what do I think about Operation Cold Response 2022 starting in March? Military exercise in Norway near Russia involving 35,000 soldiers. That's going to be real interesting because how is Russia going to respond to that, especially if they've got all their troops down in Ukraine? Let's say it's still going on here. I mean, March is 3 days away. What happens if, hey, you know what? We're going into St. Petersburg. You went into Kiev. We're going into St. Petersburg. Now you got all sorts of hell breaking loose. But, certainly that's going to be something that's thought. Putin's going to come up. How do I know you're not doing this? Well, gee, because we told you so. Kind of like you told us. This is the crap that this is all opened up at this point. Let's see. Yeah, his sweetie, we got a crappy hand with all the good cards already dealt. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, and I said to Mrs. P beforehand, Putin knew the ace that the EU and the US had up their sleeve. And he still played his hand, you know. It just tells you how much he doesn't care about his people when he's going to put them through economic turmoil for a country that really offers him nothing. Brandy Weems, the most important question, what are my coordinates? No. Sorry, no. Puddles, no dictator would want a great reset. Exactly. Putin, Xi, Kim Jong-un, they don't want it. They'll have a great reset under their terms, but they're certainly not going to do it under a Klaus Schwab, a Prince Charles, a John Kerry terms. No. Okay. DeFrico, one cyber attacks on us or a declaration of war? Not really. Okay. And because what was our response when Colonial Pipeline was hacked? Nah, nothing. You know, pick any of the other major hacks that we had. I mean, solar winds. Do we ever go after anybody for that? No. You know, so declaration of war. Okay, and what do we throw paper airplanes back at them? That's about the extent. Nancy Johnson talking about banks. What about direct deposit for Social Security checks? Well, I would certainly still continue to do it. Because the last thing you want to do is have a Social Security check mailed to you and then there's no bank to go to cash it. At least if it's in the bank, it's already in cash. But, you know, same rules apply. You know, leave in there what you can for bills, you know, take out the rest of it and do it. Now, I understand not everybody can do that. I mean, I said in one of the comments today, I bet there's people here who watch the channel who have six-figure bank accounts. By no means am I telling somebody to put $100,000 in their safe in their house. You know, cash is not covered by your insurance, guys. If your house burns down, cash is not covered. Okay, so you're taking the risk by keeping cash in the house of it getting stolen, house burning down, whatever it is. You got no recourse on that one. So this is where, you kind of got to play that balancing game. I got to risk some in the bank. I got to risk some at home. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Have some in the bank, have some at home, have some in multiple banks. So have bank and a credit union, whatever it would be. Pureblood 1775. Pinball, what type of homemade water filter would you recommend to someone who can't afford to buy one? There are some good videos online on how to make your own Berkey. Okay, I've never done it. Where you can do it for like $35-40. Okay, now like I said, I can't vouch, but there's plenty of videos out there of people who say that they've made their own. Okay, I mean, for all intents and purposes, all it is the filter. Who cares if the outside is stainless steel or plastic? I don't care either way. But at that point, the best thing that I would buy would be a Sawyer Mini or a Life Straw or something that's going to be more work. Okay, but even a zero water or something like that is not going to take out all the contaminants in the water like a Sawyer Mini will. You can boil your water. You can use bleach. There's a lot of ways to do it, but best case scenario, if you don't have a big one, which I don't, okay, is use the filters, the Sawyer Minis or something. Or if you want to try building one of your own Berkeys, go for it. Victoria Vander Sheldy Price, but Putin was praised by Klaus Schwab. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, he was, but I mean, remember, Putin's a chameleon. He's ex-KGB. He will make friends with you, shake your hand, and then stab you in the back. Don't ever confuse him with anybody else like that. Just because Klaus Schwab praised him does not mean he's some devout follower of the World Economic Forum. Hardly. Healthy disrespect for authority. If Putin's not in on the globalist plan, how can we play it along with the COVID mythology? Well, I mean, COVID was real, guys. Okay, it was a real disease, sickness, whatever you want to call it about there. So, played along, yeah. Did Russia create their own vaccine? Yeah. Okay. How they got it, who knows? Was it stolen technology? I don't know. But was it real? Yes. So sure, he was still trying to take care of the people, or at least make it look like he was. John Fort Wingler, pinball, it's the old world order. Yeah, I prefer that. Okay. Woke means weak, Foggy Mountain Man. That's very true. Tom Collick, will Russia stop at the Ukraine border with Poland or the Baltics? If Russia goes into Poland or into the Baltics, then you do have World War III, because now you've attacked a NATO nation. The Baltics, maybe. Poland, I doubt that he'd go into, but the Baltics, maybe. But I think it's going to be a while till he licks his wounds from Ukraine. Let's see. I was told Russia told Germany to get out of NATO or Russia would shut off their oil and gas. Russia only provides about a third of the oil and gas to Germany. I mean, they get it from the Czech Republic. They get it from the United States when we're actually pumping it. Thanks, Joe. But yeah, that would be silly if Putin thought he could pressure Russia or pressure Germany to leave NATO. That would be like, sure, okay, come on in. Yeah, East Germany all over again. Yeah. I don't know who told you that, but that one's a little out there. P. Joe 2179, what are my thoughts on Cliff High? I have no idea who or what that is. Seamus 59, at least there's a break from blaming Trump. Are you kidding? This is all Trump's fault. That's what the media has been talking about. That the reason the economy's in the toilet is because of Trump. The reason that we're in the Ukraine problems is because of Trump. Well, actually, I take it back. How is it? The economy is in the tank because of Ukraine, and we're in the Ukraine problems that we have because of Trump. None of this, Joe had nothing to do with this. This is all 14 months later because of Trump. That's what the media is telling you. Half-fast, in the event of World War III, would disabled veterans and those on Social Security still get their benefits? Doubtful. Yeah, I don't see, in the event of World War III, all bets are off on anybody getting anything, okay? Except you'll have all the welfare mamas going, where's my check? Where's my check? But Delilah says, not enough paws up. Meow was a great time. Okay. Cody B, do I think this will lead to World War III? Okay, you're asking for my opinion. I want to qualify that because my track record here on Russia-Ukraine right now is 0-1. No, I do not. I don't think Ukraine is that important to Europe or to the United States to go that far, okay? When we start sending troops in, I mean, yes, I know we sent in more weapons and everything like this. When we start sending troops in, that's when I'll change my tune. But until then, I don't think we go that far. Linda Lewis said the trucker convoy stopped in Elk City, Oklahoma for the night. Okay. Mary Jane Green, can we drink the water off of a shingle roof? I have an Alexa Pure. Again, same thing. You're going to need to purify it somewhere and make sure you get out all the little asphalt, gravel, or whatever it is to be. You certainly don't want to be eating that or digesting it, however you want to do it. So, yeah, if you're running it through a filter, you're going to be a lot better. Pat Butler, what kind of limits are the banks putting on withdrawals? What I've heard from a lot of banks so far is $1,000 per person, or if there's two names on the account, you know, the joint account, $2,000. Somebody was saying earlier that, you know, their local credit union or whatever, the teller said they only keep about $12,000 in cash in the bank on a daily basis. I think that's quite low. The bigger banks, of course, are going to keep more money, but, you know, they're not keeping tens of millions of dollars. And, you know, even if they keep $1 million and you've got $100,000 in the bank isn't going to deplete their cash reserve for the day by 10% to let you cash out your account, because then the next guy comes in and goes, I want $500,000 and close my account. You know, so what I've heard was $1,000, but I've heard that from a couple of people. I think that's going to vary by bank. Okay. SK Matheson, will Joe's State of the Union impact Tuesday's live stream? Yeah, probably have more people watching the live stream. At least there'd be more truth in it. I mean, I can't, there's no way in the world I can watch his State of the Union. Well, the economy's doing good and we're done with COVID, and, you know, I've got Russia on the ropes. And I mean, it's going to be what, 90 minutes of lies? Who the hell wants to watch that? I mean, I can't stand watching Biden as is. You know, it's like, I'll read the transcript. I cannot bear watching him. Okay, we got shot up here. Red-headed trouble, banking cyber attacks coming. That's what I talked about this afternoon. I believe so. Do you think it would be smart to let China take over Taiwan? No, absolutely not, because then our credibility in the world stage is completely shot. What is reality these days? I don't know. Go watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That's probably closer. Because God knows the rest of it we can't figure out. What YouTube free downloader do you have? Need to get the info before the internet disappears. I was using Vidly for the longest time, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. So now there is one called Airy, A-I-R-Y, that I've been using. So check that one out. Kit Carlson, I can't listen to him for 1 minute. Little Red Lang Hood for 30 seconds. Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. Did you guys see Jen Psaki is going to leave the White House? She's going to pursue a career in cable news, and the talk is that she's going to take over for Rachel Maddow. That ought to be good. Who the hell's going to watch Jen Psaki? In her mind, she's a legend. You know, how well did your career go after you were done being the press secretary for Obama? Oh, that's right. You dropped off the face of the earth. Let's see. Did I actually get to the end? Our credibility is shot as of Benghazi. Yeah, 01 Wolf says. Yeah, as if, you know, our withdrawal from Afghanistan made it any better, you know. Let's see if there's anything else. Kit Carlson said, I thought Little Red Lang Hood was going to stay home and be a mommy. Oh. I'm going to keep it clean. I'm sorry. It's Saturday night. There's something I could really say, but that would just be a little too foul. That's it. I actually got to the bottom. Would you believe it or not? 1,887 people, and I got to the bottom here. Now, I probably missed a bunch up here somewhere, but looking through here. Yeah, well, North Shore, I'm going to be done at 10. I did float back up here in South Colorado. Setter says, how is Russia being allowed to target ships not involved with Ukraine? Isn't that a maritime law violation? I'm assuming what it is. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, every sort of rule has been bent or snapped in half with this whole thing here on going in. I mean, setting up command and control at Chernobyl, off limits areas and all. I don't know. I just, the thing is this. I have no problem supporting Ukraine. I just don't want to see American troops sent in there again to basically fight other people's wars for them. I have no problem sending gear and everything like that, but I'm sick and tired of our citizens dying for somebody else's war. Okay. So, all right, guys. I'm going to bail for 10 o'clock on Friday. We actually made it through. Take what I said at the beginning to heart, guys. Be proud of yourself for what you've done. This is exactly what we've prepped for. Okay. You are light years ahead of most of the rest of the world. And remember that. Okay. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you in the morning. Though I might be a little late. I'm tired. See y'all. Pinball out.